Welcome. Welcome, friends. Just getting loose, getting limbered. All right, what y'all got for me? No, Mance is not Rhaegar. Pfft, who asked that question? No, I'm kidding. Hey, guys. Welcome to the live Q&A. I've just been straight dealing the theories lately, doing reread streams, and let me just check for any sort of echo. Shouldn't be any echo. No, we're good. There's no echo. If you have an echo, it might be your issue, but I hope it works out for you. In any case, welcome, friends. Yeah, I haven't done a Q&A in a while. Been reeling out the theories and stuff. So yeah, I've been talking at you for like 2.5 hours and then going, does anyone have any questions on the way out? So here we go. Talk about whatever you want. House of the Dragon, Ice and Fire, Game of Thrones, the Sea Snake show that was in development that isn't anymore, by the way. The company that was working on both Nymeria's ships and the Sea Snake spinoff took those projects off of their list of things they're working on, which is a little bit of a tea leaf that HBO is paring down the options of what they are developing. Of course, that's not a surprise. HBO recently has, been under a lot of financial issues, and they've been scaling back stuff. Westworld got taken off of the roster and stuff, and yeah, so it's happening all over the streaming services. There is a great contraction. The streaming services got a little gung-ho. We're replacing cable in the movie theaters. Look at us. We're going to spend $1 million on every show. And so it seems like those HalcyCon days come to an end. Yeah. Now, that doesn't mean that those shows will never happen. It just means they're not actively being developed. They never got to the point of having a pilot. So, yeah. Yeah, you're right. It doesn't look right on my screen. Why isn't that? What's going on here? Hang on a second. Yeah, there we go. Okay, that was weird. Thanks, guys. I appreciate you. There you go. Thanks for helping me sort that out. I've never seen that particular bug before. That's a new one. Always fun. So, friends, the best way to ask me questions today is through the PayPal link, paypal.me/mythicalastronomy. It's in the description below the video. You don't need a PayPal account. It's very easy. There's a longer comment field there too. So if you want to ask a more detailed question, there's more room in the PayPal comments than there will be on the super chat function, which you can also use. So yeah, either way, and I'll be looking at the chat too. So even if you don't have coins to throw at your Witcher, I'll still be monitoring the chat, and you can be real interactive, so we can all participate in the conversation. But yeah, I've got a couple of thoughts floating around in my head to talk about, but I really do want to turn it over to you guys to pilot the ship and tell me what you'd like to hear. I do get, people come at me all the time and ask me questions on social media and stuff, and usually I'm too busy to stop and, give you my time, but here I am, so. And one thing that I've been thinking about is the Shadow Baby birthing scene. Now, when we read the Shadow Baby, will we see Cannibal in House of the Dragon? That's actually a good question. Let me put a pin in the Shadow Baby thing. Yes, I think we will be seeing Cannibal. Thanks, Jens. I think that we will see basically all the dragons, because they pretty much said that Brian Cogman said, we've had so much fun. We've already made the dragons that you haven't seen yet. So yeah, I do think we'll get Cannibal. And Cannibal's got a pretty big role in the action. No, Mark, you don't need a PayPal account. If you do have one, it'll automatically take you to your PayPal account. But if you don't have a PayPal account, you should just be able to enter a credit card number and use that. And by the way, I just saw one come in. Thank you. I can just get Gmail to update here. Well, we'll give it a second. It'll update momentarily. Yeah, so we will see Cannibal, and Cannibal is awesome. Cannibal is super duper awesome. Supposedly Cannibal was around before the Targaryens, so Cannibal could be really old, could be a wild dragon from Valyria. There were Valyrians on Dragonstone before the Targaryens, so it could have been an egg that hatched there. And it could have also simply be that once the Valyrians established Dragonstone, that, you know, some dragons began living in the wild. Because on Dragonstone, the dragons roost in like the caverns of the mountain. So they're not quite as kept as the ones in the dragon pit, which is an important thing. Lady Lils, given the presence of Cersei, Jon, Con, and Fagon in King's Landing in the coming battle, doesn't it make more sense for them to be responsible for the wildfire conflagration? Yes. Yes. It seems like Dany has too much to wrap up. Yeah, Dany's in the Dothraki Sea barefoot. Don't lay the burning of King's Landing at her feet. She doesn't even have shoes. She can't even make a damn hat with the reeds out there. She needs Mira. Mira could make a hat, as well as a boat. Whoa! It started coming out of my phone. That was crazy. All right, it's chaos. It's chaos stream. I love those. So yes, absolutely. Jon, Con, Cersei, and Fagon are all going to be part of how this is going to go down. And don't forget the Sand Snakes are running around King's Landing too. Two of them, with vengeance on their mind. Lady Nym and Tyene Sand are both have infiltrated King's Landing by the time that winds will pick up. And they're there to cause chaos as well. So Varys is still running around. Yeah, so not all the wildfire's been cleaned up. Particularly there's, you know, I think the whole blowing up the Sept of Baelor thing is going to happen in the books. I do think that was something that the show got from George. That was one of the loose outline things. The idea of Cersei being responsible for it to get out of her trial, that could be, but I think Cersei will get out of her trial a different way. And I think what's going to happen is that when Fagon comes and invades the city, that's when Cersei will really be desperate, trying to hold on to the city or even sabotage it. Kind of like the Mad King in his final moments. It's like, okay, fine, you're going to conquer King's Landing. We'll let them be the King of Ashes then. We'll burn the whole city down. So fuck you all, right? I could see Cersei going that way with all her Mad King parallels. And she does have a lot of parallels to Mad King Aerys. I don't think they're related, but I do think they have parallels. So yeah, I could see her setting off the wildfire intentionally. I could see it going off in battle. Jon Con is also going to be increasingly desperate. He may also find out that Fagon isn't Rhaegar's son, which would kind of destroy his entire mind. He's sacrificed so much to bring, you know, his whole identity, his honor, his life in order to care for Rhaegar's son, who isn't. My name is Fagon, and I'm not really real. I mean, he is real, but he's not who he thinks he is. So, yes, I do think that the Sept is going to get blown up. Whether Cersei does it or not, I'm not sure. She definitely is capable of it. But then I do think there will be some wildfire potentially left over when Dany comes. So what I see for King's Landing is a series. It's going to get rocked by a series of disasters. And by the time Dany gets there, I think Fagon will be the popular king. See, this is the most important foreshadowing for this whole sequence, is Dany's vision in the House of the Undying. Well, this can be a True Gon stream. If I don't know how to change names, will show up and throw me some change, some coins. We talk about Fagon all friggin' day. But no, Dany sees the Mummer's dragon, a cloth dragon swinging on poles, cheered by the crowd. And this is a lie that she has to slay. Cheers by the crowd is the important thing. So Fagon has to have a moment where he's cheered by the crowd and he is welcomed as a dragon, paraded through the streets. It sounds literally like a triumphant king riding through the streets of King's Landing up to the Red Keep. Absolutely, Fagon will do this. The common folk will love Fagon. Yes, they will. And So when Dany gets there, it's going to be all muddled up because like Cersei will have gone down in this blaze of glory per se. Fagon will have replaced her, created a stable reign. And so Dany will not be able to replace Fagon easily. And this will sort of check her whole idea. I think this will make her question her whole idea of what she's doing. And if she does attack King's Landing, we could see more wildfire go off there. And Dany could be blamed for it. But Dany has a long way to go to get to King's Landing. And a lot of things are going to happen before she gets there. That is all correct. Tony Teflon says Jon Snow will kill Euron for his armor. He may. Jon dreams of being armored in black ice. Ned's sword is Valyrian steel, but it's called ice and it's black. So maybe Euron's black Valyrian steel armor is the black ice armor. But I think that's more about Jon being whited. But I do think Euron will get to the north eventually. Roma Steve. George says we won't see any gods in the books. What about false gods? Where does he draw the line, do you think? Well, we see sometimes entities being understood as gods. Like the Green Seers and the Weirwood Net understood as the old gods. I think the Great Other might be Azor Ahai's spirit in the Weirwood Net. R'hllor might just be fire magic that people are putting a face on. Or it could be like some Great Empire of the Dawn spirit entity. George likes to do the thing in his other stories where people think it's a god, but it's actually there's some explanation behind it. So no, we're not going to talk to God, but the things that people think are gods could be entities. Welcome to Squisher, Ariana Faye. Thank you. Garth Greenlung. Yeah, appreciate that, Ariana. Theory on Jon Royce's armor. I like the theory of runic bronze armor protecting against the others, hence the irony of Waymar dying while not wearing his father's armor. I do too. You know, the first men used a lot of runes. Runes are often for protection. You know, the Norse put runes on their weapons and shields and armor for that reason. So, yeah, it's like, where does that tradition come from? Also, bronze is implied as something that might be able to resist the cold. First of all, bronze is a metal that literally can hold up under very cold temperatures. And the King of Winter's crown is made of bronze and iron, metals that are dark and strong to fight the cold. So, yeah, and bronze often has sort of folkloric, occult qualities attributed to it. So, yeah, the idea of runic bronze armor, maybe it's not perfect. Maybe it does protect against the swords of the others. I could see that. Maybe if the runes are laid with magic, maybe it's not about just carving runes, but, you know, originally you had the runes and then the magic was attached to the runes or something. George does like to do that. Magic needs to be attached to things or tied to things. That seems to, you know, to objects or to powers, places, you know, hinge of the world, that kind of stuff. So I do think there's something to that. And the idea that the Valyrians also inscribed their armor with runes, it's like maybe that's a belief that goes back to the Long Night. You know, the others are very fey. They're very, like, bad elves, you know. So we should be able to use the standard folkloric sort of protections against them. That would make sense. Lucas Van Hammond. How does Quaithe play into your current Azor Ahai theory? Glad you asked. Glad you asked. So, Church of Starry Wisdom, very misunderstood. They got a bad reputation from the Bloodstone Emperor, who admittedly killed his wife, the Amethyst Empress. It's probably a Nissa Nissa, but might have caused a long night too. So, understandable they have a bad reputation. However, the two people that are almost definitely Starry Wisdom cultists are Marwyn and Quaithe. And Marwyn and Quaithe both seem caught up in trying to help Dany fight the others. Marwyn the Mage is very clearly worried about the others. We know his mind. He talks to Sam, explains he's been using the glass candle to monitor everything up north. He's thinking about the Azor Ahai prophecy, and he's getting on a ship to go to Dany seeing that she has dragons and probably is some sort of fulfillment of this goddamned prophecy that wants to bite your prick off, as Marwyn says. So he's been hanging out at the dockside temples in Old Town. That's where Starry Wisdom cult churches are. And of course, the Starry Wisdom is very active in port cities. Old Town is a dead ringer for it. There's a few other clues, but Quaithe is even more clearly a Starry Wisdom cultist. She's using the glass candle. She's in a shy. She literally appears to Dany as a mask of starlight, dispensing wisdom. Like the Starry Wisdom comes from Quaithe, right? Hi, girl. Oh, you want pets, girl? She took a shower earlier, and so she needs her feathers floofed back out. Yeah. And Quaithe, one of the big things that people have misunderstood about Dany's last chapter, mostly after the Game of Thrones ending, where people are now trying to reverse engineer Dany going mad, which isn't going to fucking isn't going to happen in the books, nor will she turn into a mass murderer, because that's not her character, obviously. One of the things that people don't understand about that last chapter is when Dany is when she's like, remember who you are, Daenerys. Dragons don't plant trees. Fire and blood. What are the words of Targaryen? And Dany's like, fire and blood. And everyone's like, aha, Dany's going to go dragon. She's going to burn everyone. Well, the thing is, Dany already is very in touch with her dragon. And every time she uses her dragons for justice, to burn slave masters, to liberate people that are enslaved. Okay? So when she goes to Volantis, she's going to be doing more of that, more burning slave masters and liberating slaves with her dragons. So Dany does plant trees. She does it twice. She does it in Vaes Toloro, and she does it in Meereen. So, whatever. Dany is a cleansing fire, but she does also do some seed planting as well. Point being, here's the big point is that why does Quaithe want Dany to embrace her dragon? And maybe quit messing around in Meereen and get back to Westeros? Why does Quaithe want her to do that? Is Quaithe fixated on Dany conquering Westeros and being the queen and sitting on the throne? No. Quaithe doesn't care about that shit. Quaithe cares about the others. To go north, you must go south. To reach the light, you must touch the shadow. What does that mean? Quaithe wants Dany to go north and reach the light, meaning to bring the light of spring after the long night, to go north to fight the others with her damn dragons. So Quaithe wants Dany to embrace her dragon and to go back to Westeros so she can fight the others. That's good. That's what Dany needs to do. Dany's big decision point is going to come with foregoing the quest for the throne in order to save the world from the others, because she's the only one with dragons. I'm confident she'll figure that out eventually. She may stumble a bit before that, because she's not perfect, and it's a story, and it should have conflict. But eventually, she will see her way to the greater purpose, which is fighting the others, and she will go north. And I suspect that Quaithe will continue to help and advise her do that. So, final thought, Dany's going to gain a glass candle from Marwyn. Marwyn is going to Dany. Marwyn has access to multiple candles. The candles are super powerful. There's no way Marwyn would go to counsel Dany and not bring a glass candle. How else is he going to stay abreast of what's going on in Westeros without a glass candle? So he's going to show up in Meereen. He's going to have a glass candle, and Dany's going to get to use it. So Dany will be able to get in better contact with Quaithe. Quaithe and Marwyn probably know each other. They see each other at Starry Wisdom cult meetings, just like we all do here. So I think that Dany will have the glass candle. She'll be in touch with Quaithe. She'll find out more information about the Long Night in Azor Ahai and shit with that. That'll happen when Dany gets back to Meereen. So she's got to do her stallion that mounts the world stuff in the Dothraki Sea first. Let's see here. Let me scroll back up. Thanks for keeping the super chats coming. It keeps the pace up. I got to talk fast and get on to the next question. That's good. What are my opinions on Bloodraven and his ulterior motives? That's a good one. I'm mostly on Team Bloodraven. I think that he is doing the right thing to save the world. He might be willing to use people and turn Bran into a green seer repository if need be or whatever. but his goals are to save the world. The darkest version of that is that, like, he's actually using the others to force the humans to do the things that they need to do. But I think mostly he's anti-other. Will Jon Snow Dany romance be fire or flop, like in season 8? Hard to say, Kelly Johnson. I'm more convinced that they will have a connection based on family, shared values, and stuff like that, based on going on a desperate mission together. So I do think it'll be romantic. I don't know how, like, hot and sexy it'll be. It depends on Jon's quality of resurrection, to be honest. A lot of it does depend on that. But they have so much in common as far as their values go. So once they find that they're the only two Targaryens, they're both revolutionaries, they both believe in justice, I think this will tie them together. So I have high hopes for the Jon and Dany interaction. I just don't know if, like, sex and romance will be the focal point of it. We'll see. I would like to see a sort of magical romance where it's like they share that sense of heavy fate and destiny, and that ties them together. That'd be very romantic. So really, if Jon, it's up to Bran for Jon to get erections, because R'hllor zombies don't have flowing blood, neither do ice wights. So for Jon to have flowing blood, we need a better resurrection, and that can only come from Greenseer magic. So it is up to Bran and Bloodraven to create a Jon capable of doing it. So we'll see. Do I think Jon will come back looking like a Targaryen? George says yes. Looking like Elric of Melniboné. He'll have white hair and red eyes. He'll look like Ghost the Wolf. That'll make him look like Elric and like Bloodraven, but also kind of like a Targaryen as well. So it's going to thread the needle on all of those. Perhaps the dark black eyes will be revealed as dark purple. Or Jon's dark gray eyes, rather, will be dark purple, but I think they'll just be red when he comes back. Stop it. Stop it. No bad behavior or you're going back inside. She's been on a tear lately, so forgive my stern father scold tone there. The dad voice. Nicola, I hit the Melisandre Bloodraven thing pretty hard. I do think it's possible that she's the daughter of Bloodraven and Shara Seastar. I'll come back to that if I got some time, but I just talked about that in the Melisandre Weirwood stream that I did like 3 weeks ago. So I'll refer you to that one. Brennan Rateni, and that, by the way, the full theory for that is from Yoke Boy of Radio Westeros. So if anyone wants to read the theory about Melisandre being the daughter of Bloodraven and Shara Seastar, just search for Yoke Boy, Radio Westeros, Shara Seastar, Melisandre. It'll come right up. It's easy to find. I've read the essay many times. Brennan Rateni. A lot of mention about 12 undead fire wights fighting with the last hero. Yes, around here there is. Which 12 characters do you think we could see die and get resurrected to fight with Jon and Dany? Jaime would be one for me. Well, Jaime and Brienne both are strong candidates because of Jaime's stream of them wielding flaming swords down in a cave. So I definitely think they're good possibilities. I think a lot of Watchmen will be a part of it, like Mully, maybe Dolorous Ed, some of those guys. There's some foreshadowing of that. But yeah, Arya, I don't know. I don't know about that. Maybe. She's definitely losing a lot of her humanity already. But I think the fire wights will mostly be like red shirts. People that are less important. Maybe Tormund or Leathers. People like that. Let's see. Luke Tatum with the PayPal. Thank you, Luke. What do you think of the idea that Arya loses the ability to change back into her real face? It would be so tragic if she can only appear as a stranger to her family. Oh, that's an interesting theory. I'd not heard that one. It kind of makes sense thematically. Like I just said, Arya's losing so much of her humanity. That would be interesting if she actually lost her identity. Yeah, and Cinnabarb, I did do a stream about that. Yes, thank you for reminding me. I did 3 War for the Dawn live streams. One about all the Valyrian steel weapons. The other one was about, who could be fighting the others, essentially. I don't know if I talked about white specifically. I probably did. But I definitely talked about who will be fighting the others. So check out those War for the Dawn streams out. I realize I haven't been playing the music lately because I've been smoking on camera with the new Slack YouTube guidelines. Let me hit you with some music, and I'll be right back. And we're back. And I'm not muted. So the idea of Arya losing her face, that's interesting. It could also be interesting if Arya chooses not to reveal herself when she could to her family members because she can't emotionally, or something like that. I think that might almost even be more interesting, but we'll see. Arya's fate is an interesting one to talk about. Let's put a pin in that and maybe come back to that after we get through some of these initial questions. That's a good one, Luke. Thanks for that question. And of course, check out the Winds of Winter preview about Arya that I did with Quinn. We talked a lot about her future plot there. And I'll come back for those PayPals. I didn't miss them. Or the super chats, don't worry. They did scroll by, but I will get them. Jacob says, what do you think attacked Balerion when he flew to Valyria with Araya? Fireworm, larger dragon, or maybe even a kraken? I'm going to go with fireworm. That's what I think. There could be wild dragons in Valyria. I kind of doubt that. I think the wild dragons would be sighted. People would see them and then go try to claim them. And the Doom killed all the dragons, that were there. So I like the idea of a fireworm because you could see that, right? Like Balerion, when he flew to Valyria, at some point he's going to land. Dragons are drawn to the heat vents and the caves and things. So maybe Balerion went to sleep in a cave, curled up, and then you woke the fireworm, with his rumbling around. And this is Balerion in the Dragon Pit, by the way, this artwork here, and it's by Renee Agner. Balerion in the Dragon Pit. Kind of a sad thing to think about, honestly. However, I think fireworm makes the most sense. The long rents, Balerion would have a tough time fighting a fireworm. It'd be a little different than fighting another dragon. Surprise attack if Balerion was sleeping in the cave. That's where he would meet the fireworm, is in the cave. So maybe the fireworm got the jump on Balerion and gave him that massive wound before he woke up and bit his head off or whatever. That's what would make sense to me. But it's fun to speculate. And the Krakens, man, I don't know about the Krakens. We'll just have to wait for Martin to show us what he wants to do with Krakens. I got a PayPal from Martin, but let me go ahead and catch up on these super chats. Bounce back and forth. Okay, got Brennan's. And by the way, if you're asking me questions in the chat and I'm not catching them, just hang on. As we go, the PayPals and super chats will slow down, and you'll probably have a chance to ask your question again. So thanks for coming, everyone. Thanks for being patient, and I will try to answer all the questions that come before we get out of here. So Finn says, love your content. I listen to you almost every day. Oh, right on, man. Right on. I've got my podcast and things that I listen to all the time, so I'm happy to turn the favor. I do love entertaining, as many people with ADHD do. It starts as a defense mechanism, and then it just becomes your personality. I don't know. I don't question it. I just monetize it. Roma Steve, Squisher symbolism in Volantis. Yes, plenty. The spearmen have green striped tattoos across both cheeks, like gills. They're tiger stripes, but you're suggesting them as gills. Okay. Tigers, like tiger sharks, elephants, elephant seals. Hard to say. I'd have to go back and look at that. I mostly am caught up in the fact that the elephants are called white dwarfs a bunch of times, which is a name for a star, of course. And I think the elephants are interesting because people ride on top of them. So it's like a palanquin, and the palanquins, I think, are likened to the Greenseer thrones because it's like a throne you sit on, but then you move around on it, kind of. So I think that's what the white dwarf elements are. They have white trunks, like white tree trunks. But then the star idea brings in the astral projection element. So I think white dwarf elephants are about green seers and astral projection, but it's been a while since I looked back at that. Anytime you see the green stuff, well, Volantis is half drowned. Oh, okay. I know how I can answer your question. Hang on. Okay, so Westeros, green lands, frozen lands, the wall in the middle. The wall is a weir and a bridge and a barrier and all those things. We see that layout a lot of times set up with a bridge in the middle instead of the wall. Okay, so Volantis, it's divided in two as well by the river. And then it's got the bridge over the river. So the bridge is the crossing. The river is the barrier. So I guess you could look at the rivers would be the metaphor for the wall. And of course the wall is like the Vale of Tears. So it's like crossing the river Styx into the Deadlands. It's literally described as a frozen stream. River of time being frozen. So Volantis has a river, divides the city in half, and one half of the city is drowned, right? So there's a drowned half, and then there's a dragon half. So the drowned half would be probably the frozen equivalent to where the others live. The others and the squishers and the merlings are usually likened to each other. The squishers steal your babies, as Nimbledick says, just like the others want to steal your babies. They're tall and pale. I don't know if the squishers have pointy teeth. I mean, the others have pointy teeth. The squishers definitely do. Goddamn squishers have so many teeth, they'll chew you up, spit you out, and they'll still be chewing you up because you'll be stuck in their teeth. Anyway, thanks, Nimbledick. So yeah, Volantis, and that long bridge there's a bunch of symbolism when Tyrion crosses the Volantis bridge. There's a bunch of hammer of the water symbolism that I broke down one time. So yeah, there is some aquatic drowned symbolism going on there, but it would be referring to the others as like drowned green seers, essentially. Is Bonero older and more powerful than Mel? We don't know, Kelly Johnson, but Bonero is an interesting character, and I do think he could be one of those R'hllorys who is turning into a fire other, like Makoro and Melisandre. He does look inhuman. His tattoos seem to writhe on his face, just like Makoro. I do think that's a magic and not just an illusion. So, yeah, it wouldn't surprise me. I mean, he's the head R'hllorist. He's got to be working on the fire other process, and he's got to be hip to it as well. So, I think the fire other thing is something that, like, it's a very elite thing. And it's kind of inevitable, too. If you just hang around and keep using R'hllorist magic for years and years, you turn into a fire entity. You just do. So, yeah, the only way to get at that is by getting so deep into R'hllorist magic that you're enhancing your lifespan. And I think that's something all the top R'hllorists would be doing. Hey, David, love catching you live. You did a great stream about shadows recently. Ever hear the theory that Robert Strong is Gregor's shadow? Well, he's Gregor's zombie. So, I mean, yeah, kind of. I mean, some part of Gregor is going to be in there. We don't know what's under the helmet, if it's a different head or what. So, and we don't even know what magic has been used to just some kind of blood magic that Qyburn. It's really just Frankenstein, George's ode to Frankenstein. But I don't know if you want to clarify that, Three-Eyed Monkey, what you mean by Robert Strong is Gregor's shadow. It is That is Gregor, Ungregor. House of the Dragon question: which dragon fight are you most looking forward to? Well, the God's Eye one, and which has the best chance to have some changes made and be made even better. Definitely the God's Eye fight is the one, but they're all great. You know, the Tessarion, Sea Smoke, Sunfire, and Moon Dancer, and Melee. Yeah, all the dragon fights are sick. So it's really, I don't know about made even better. It's just a matter of making them happen and making them look good. So the one at Rook's Rest is pretty awesome too. Looking forward to that as well. What kind of content can we expect post wins? I'll be live streaming like every other day, and we'll just be going through all the chapters, probably. But it all depends, dude. Guys, Winds of Winter could kind of blow me the fuck up if my main theories are right. I mean, if the Moon Meteor theory is right, then we're gonna get Moon Meteors to cause the next Long Night too. That's gonna happen in Winds of Winter, and then I'm gonna be the guy who figured it out, because nobody else figured out Moon Meteors. It's all me. Everyone knows that's me. You know, there's some other predictions that I've made that we could see come true as well, but the Moon Meteors would be the big one. So yeah. What happens when Winds of Winter comes out? What kind of content? It might just be me laughing for 5 minutes going that'll be the first video that I put out. It'll just be that. It'll be a YouTube short. 60 seconds of me laughing and holding the book up. That'd be awesome. I will do that. 3 heads of the dragon. It's Jon, Dany, and Euron. I'm pretty positive. They don't all need to be Targaryens. They're just 3 dragon riders. Euron is going to be the 3rd dragon rider. It seems obvious when you think about it. And one of the heads of the dragon should be evil. So, yes, it's Euron. He's the 3rd head. I think Tyrion could ride a dragon, but I think it'll be like an accident. He'll hop on one for a second, and he'll get his little dragon riding experience, and we'll wonder if he's a Targ, but he's not going to be like a dragon rider full on. I think that'll be Euron. It'll be an hour of laughing. I'm only going to put out a few minutes of it, though, Mariah. I'll edit the best. Martin Sills with a PayPal. Do you think Dance of the Dragons could be a sort of retelling of the war between the Great Empire of the Dawn and the Children of the Forest? The Long Night Battle. Yes, absolutely. Daemon gives Rhaenyra the Jade Tiara of the Empress of Lang. And Daemon goes and rules on Bloodstone Island. He literally makes it his seat. So they're very obviously Amethyst Empress, you know. Actually, I shouldn't say, Amethyst Empress and Bloodstone Emperor. Bloodstone has also Tiger Woman, of course, too. But yes, it's a heavy Long Night parallel. Of course, it's a detailed struggle between, you know, 2 branches of a dragon family. That's exactly what the original struggle was about, too. So we should go through that. That's a good idea for a whole stream, Martin. And he goes on to say, Rhaenyra and the Blacks acting as the true Targaryens, and the Targaryens taking the place of the Great Empire of the Dawn, as both the dragon riders from the east who conquer Westeros. The Hightower faction called the Greens, and their castle looked like a weirwood tree, so they act as stand-ins for the Children of the Forest. Also, the dragons died off during the long night and during the dance. Yeah, so the whole thing about the Hightower is that the Great Empire of the Dawn comes to Old Town to learn the magic of the Children of the Forest, or steal it, or whatever. That's where the contact happens. That's where the Fewstone Fortress is. It's under the Hightower. So, yeah, I need to think about this more and do a whole stream about it. This is a great idea for a stream. So thank you, Martin. I'll try to remember to give you a shout out when we actually do this stream, but I'm sure you'll see it coming. Let's see. Welcome to Squisher Audible Optics. Do you think Makoro is a Valyrian with his white hair? I think you meant Valyrian, but no. I think Makoro's physical appearance is likely entirely magical. The white hair, the skin so black it looks burnt. I mean, maybe he's a summer islander who just looks really dark, and George is giving us like a kind of tacky description of really dark skinned person, a really dark skinned person. But I think it's strongly implied Moqorro is a magical person. Like, he survived at sea for 10 days. He doesn't need food to live either. Just like Mel, he runs on R'hllor power. So I suspect that Melisandre, under her glamour, might have that same burnt black skin as Moqorro. I strongly suspect that. Oh yeah, I'm keeping up. Thanks for all the questions, Kelly Johnson. You're awesome. What ancient battle was at Battle Isle? Well, that would be the first one. The first one in the conflict between the Great Empire of the Dawn and Westeros, if you will. Team Westeros. And when I say Team Westeros, that's the Green Men, the Children of the Forest, and probably certain factions of First Men like the Starks. I think, I've often called the Danes and Hightowers potentially Amethyst Empress loyalists, meaning when Bloodstone Emperor took over and usurped Amethyst Empress, whether Amethyst Empress is a person or a whole, like, house or clan, because remember, Bloodstone Emperor, Topaz Emperor, these could be houses or clans as well as people. So when Amethyst Empress was usurped, there should be loyalists. There should be her people that didn't all get swept up in the coup, that fled. And that's who the Danes seem to be. The Valyrians also probably refugees from the Great Empire of the Dawn. But the Danes are the ones that have Dawn. They bring this last remnant of Great Empire of the Dawn magic that gets used to help end the Long Night that Bloodstone Emperor started. So the Danes really seem like Amethyst Empress loyalists. So they might be Team Westeros. They could be Great Empire of the Dawn people fighting against Bloodstone Emperor. And so could the Hightowers. But the Hightowers also could be the evil ones. It's hard to say. But there is a Team Westeros and a Team Bloodstone Emperor, essentially. Anytime we see a pirate lord menace Westeros, whether that's Orain Waters, Daemon Targaryen as King of the Narrow Sea, Euron, Dalton Greyjoy, the Red Kraken, these are all Bloodstone Emperor figures who show us that act of sailing from afar to attack Westeros. That's what happened. So the battle at Battle Isle, that was the battle. And we're going to see it recreated when Euron uses a whole bunch of blood magic and takes over the High Tower. That's what he's going to do, by the way. He's going to take over the High Tower. He's going to declare himself King of Westeros at Old Town. And he's going to become Saruman up on top of that tower. Or maybe fucking Sauron. Somebody compared Euron to Sauron earlier. I think he's more like Saruman because he's contacting the dark entities, thinking that it'll gain him power, but really he could be on the losing end of the stick. We'll see. But of course, Sauron started out that way too. Melkor was the greater entity. So it all goes on and on, kind of like Sith training. Bruno with a PayPal. Thank you, Bruno. Want to thank you for being a huge part of your Song of Ice and Fire experience. If the Night's King in your theory descends from the Green Men, but the Night's King is also Azor Ahai, does that mean the Emperors of the Great Empire of the Dawn and the Valyrians descend from the Green Men? So let me straighten that out for you. I don't think that Night's King is necessarily a Green Man. Night's King slaughtered Green Men. The Green Men watch. The Green Man watch at the Night Fort. So my theory is that just as there's a Green Man watch to watch over the Weirwoods on the Isle of Faces, there was also a Green Man watch at the Night Fort to watch over that very unique and strange Weirwood organism. That's the watch that Night King was the commander of and bound those brothers to his will with strange sorceries. So he killed those Green Men. Their spirits either became the others or were used to make the others, something like that. So Azor Ahai himself, I don't know if he's and I haven't missed the super chats. Don't worry, I'll still go back. Azor Ahai, as you can see, I've got a long answer for everyone, so there's going to have to be some going back. I don't like to truncate my answers. I like to give you guys the full answer. So Azor Ahai he may be a horned, I'd rather call him a horned figure. He's more like a Baphomet, like a dragon man, if he's a horned figure, a horned god. But that could be a similar lineage. Then we've got on the Isle of Lang, we've got the Old Ones. And the Old Ones are green men. The green men on Westeros may have come from Lang originally. And Lang also is where the god empresses are. The god empress seems like the right match for the god emperors of the Great Empire of the Dawn. So the Great Empire of the Dawn, yes, they could all be green seers. They could all be horned people. You know, all the ancient first men houses supposedly descend from Garth the Green. So it's likely that all of the humans in Westeros, the first men humans, have green men blood in them. The green men probably aren't that different from people. They just are a little different. They're a little staggy looking, you know, they're a little fawn-like. But they're humanoids. And just as humans can interbreed with the children of the forest, same thing with the green men. So the original first men, I've got a stream called The First Men Were Green. Claiming to descend from Garth means they're all descended from green men. So all of the first humans could be green men descended. It's hard to say. I'm waiting for George to show us the Isle of Faces so we can get a clue about that. See what they actually look like. All right, so let me go back. Let's see. Oh, you're asking me, how come Azor Ahai is remembered as the hero if he caused the long night? Well, you have to go check out some of my older videos for that one. But essentially, Azor Ahai, the bad guy, is a good one for that. He broke the moon. That caused the long night, but the moon meteor swords that we made helped end the long night. So it's one of those things where the problem and the solution are tied back to the same thing. It also could be that Azor Ahai is an archetype, a flaming sword warrior, and there's more than one. It's a title. So Dad broke the moon. The son is the last hero. Or it could be a redemption arc thing where he wasn't trying to break the moon. Sorry, guys. Let me see if I can fix this. You know, there's a few options. So let me scroll back. Oh, I may have missed that one that I said I didn't miss. Let's see how far. If it's way back. TNT group. It was just no question, just a PayPal. Well, thank you. Let me definitely say thank you. Why doesn't Maester Aemon know that Jon is the prince who was promised? Well, he can't see. That's the problem. No, I mean, he just doesn't know that Jon's a Targaryen. So he senses that Jon's important and he shows him the Azor Ahai prophecy, but he obviously doesn't realize that he's the one. Prophecy's hard to interpret. You know? So I think the main answer is that like Jon's not ready to learn about all that stuff in the story yet. And so George couldn't have Aemon spill all the beans to him. It's better written as sort of a tragedy. But the thing is, Jon learned from Aemon. He learned more important things. He learned things about how to lead men and how to live and how to govern yourself. He learned those things from Aemon. So any chance Sweet Robin makes Harry the Heir fly and forcibly marries Sansa? No, I don't think they're going back to the Eyrie. It's shut down. And I think Sweet Robin is not long for this world. So no, I don't think so, Jeffrey. Although I haven't heard that theory, so it's possible there's more evidence for it I'm not considering. Okay, now we're caught up. Beautiful. Okay, thanks, Invictus. Okay, I just got that. Appreciate that. Yeah, and if I do miss your question, you can @David Lightbringer, and it'll show up in orange, like you can see. Nicola, Tyrion Targaryen theory, I do think is legitimate as a possibility. I did a podcast called Tyrion Targaryen. It's way back, but if you search Tyrion Targaryen, you'll find it. It's on YouTube. The dragon dreams are the biggest clue. But yeah, I think Mad King raped Joanna, and I think that Tyrion is the Mad King's son. I do think that's true. House Blackwood's role in the Long Night, that's too hard to say. You know, they kind of represent first men green seers, so they're going to be one of those Team Westeros houses. But mostly I think they're important for symbolism, meaning like they're a house that isn't the Starks that have that Greenseer blood. So it's important for the lore, for Bloodraven, and all this other stuff. Lady Lils, will I do a stream comparing the parallels and symbolism between Jon and Dany? Yeah, I should. I've joked about that being low-hanging fruit that I haven't tackled. And that being absurd. Yeah. I've talked about it a little bit. Journey to the Heart of Winter. Also Born to Burn the Others. And the heroes of A Song of Ice and Fire. I did one about Jon and Dany both being the heroes because they both are revolutionaries and stuff. But they do have a lot of specific parallels. I should do that. It's a little bit of a research project, Lady Littles. But thanks for reminding me. Do I think there's an ice bridge that connects Westeros to the rest of the world? Probably. I think the demons of the Lion of Night probably were others. And they came down from the north all over the world. That kind of would make the most sense. It's fun to think about anyways. With King Bran being paralleled to the God Emperor in Dune, and also the God Emperor of the Great Empire of the Dawn, who is carried around in a pearl palanquin, which is like a weirwood throne. Both of those things being compared to moons, pearls and weirwoods, rather. Do you see him ruling Westeros with an iron fist, suppressing freedom while giving peace? I don't know about that. I mostly see Bran as a transition king in every sense, because he's going to be downloading the weirwood net hive mind so that the humans are out of the weirwoods, which is something that needs to happen. Check out the Ice Spiders video and the Weirwalkers video. And so I think Bran will be the last king, and I think he'll give Westeros a real history. He's not going to have children, so I think he just works perfectly as like the last Greenseer and the last monarchical king. And I think that George is going to explore the move towards regional governance. I don't know if we want to call it democracy, but we'll see. He really did have fun writing the Kingsmoot, which is a close thing to democracy, as is the Night's Watch choosing. So he does like those politics. I've seen that. Will he be king in the north or of the Iron Throne? I kind of think the Iron Throne won't be there. So he could be king on the God's Eye if he still has a Weirwood connection. I don't really think so, though. He could be king up in Winterfell. Maybe something new, at Harrenhal or the Trident. There's a lot of possibilities. I'm not sure. I don't think the Iron Throne will be around, though. I don't think it's right for him to sit the Iron Throne. Maybe we'll bring back the Oaken Seat or something like it. The Mad King was a secret Lannister. Zigging when everyone else is zagging. Mark here, testing this out using an old PayPal account. Yes, it works. Thank you, Mark. Appreciate that, buddy. Lucy Jane with a question. For the rewatch. Thanks for appreciate that. Putting in questions, watching the stream later. Nice. Like that. What do the other Red Priests think of Mel and Stannis? They don't seem to know. I think Mel is a little bit on her own. She doesn't seem to think about the Red Temple. She doesn't seem to stay in touch with them. If she does, it would be secretly staying in touch with Bonero or something. But I think she's a little bit on her own. And I think Mel is unique because she is also a Shadowbinder. Not all R'hllor are Shadowbinders. So she's gotten additional training beyond the Red Temple. Although, I have speculated that the Red Temple has an exchange program with Church of Starry Wisdom. And that they do literally have an exchange program. I talked about that in the Melisandre Secrets series. TNT Group says, how did Old Nan know the comet means dragons? No one else seems to know that. I think it's just one of those, old folkloric beliefs that's hanging around Westeros that Old Nan has picked up because she's the encyclopedia of folklore. There used to be dragons in Westeros, and Azor Ahai used to be in Westeros, so it's out there. There's a few Dragon Slayer stories, such as Sir Davos the Dragon Slayer and Serwyn of the Mirror Shield. The Winged Knight from the Reach could be a Dragon Lord. From her name, will Cersei become a sorceress? So I've looked into this. Cersei, spelled differently, she rules over an island, and she turns everyone into pigs and stuff when they eat her feast. There are some parallels to Cersei in Game of Thrones, but I don't think that I understand it yet. I think maybe when Cersei's story is over, we'll see the parallel. But as of yet, I'm not seeing it super much. Timmy saying, I like your Timeline Heresies live stream. Will I do a condensed video about the whole timeline with all my theories included? That's a good idea. I've also done that theory iceberg stream as well. Kind of has all my theories. But I have thought about revisiting timeline stuff and trying to do something shorter. So back to Lucy's question, which I ADD'd away from. What do the other Red Priests think? I answered that. Do they think that Stannis is Azor Ahai? No, only Mel thinks that. Everyone else is looking at Dany. Makoro and Benero both. So why aren't they stopping her? I think they sent Thoros to Westeros and were just like, go do your thing. So I don't think that's how they control their priests. I do think they'd send people out in the world to just be missionaries, and she's just kind of winging it. It would be funny if Benero or some other Red Temple people showed up and were like, yo, the fuck? Or what is all this about? Jon Snow you're talking about? We'll see. We might get Red Temple people in Westeros after Dany stops by Volantis and burns it. Because the R'hllor there are all slaves and they will support Dany. We already know that. Hoping for Mel and Stannis' initial meeting story in Winds of Winter. Cool. We'll see. We'll see. I don't know if Mel and Stannis will see each other again. Okay, girl, you're starting to get annoying. Do you want to go back in the room? You want to go back in the room? Because you're being annoying. Yeah. You have to pick a spot and then chill there. That's what I need. All right. Welcome to the Squishers. Have come up with a theory for who is going to ride the fourth dragon. Which fourth dragon are we talking about? Sheep Stealer returned? Or is that the Winterfell dragon that hatched? Or maybe the ice dragon that could appear? I'm not sure. Let me know who that fourth dragon is that you're talking about. Roma Steve. I'll try to catch the answer. Oh, good question, Music Box. Hang on. Abigail, love your videos. When do you think Dany and Jon will meet? Do you think it'll be before or after the Winterfell versus the others? I think it'll be before the Long Night Falls. But not long before, because Dany's going to have a hard time getting back to Westeros before the Long Night Falls. This might be part of George's trouble. Like, Winds of Winter could be half Dany chapters because she needs to catch up. So, we'll see. I do think it'll be similar to the books, where she's fixated on the throne and Jon's like, have you heard about the others? And she's like, oh, actually, I have had dreams about enemies armored in ice. That's interesting. So it's going to be fascinating. I don't know if there'll be caverns with Children of the Forest carvings on Dragonstone. That was probably a show convenience. But it'll be kind of like that, where Jon is bringing old knowledge to her. But Dany's going to be better informed because of the glass candle. She's going to know more about Azor Ahai and the Long Night coming into that convo with Jon. So going back, there was a good question from Music Box. When you speak about the Weirwood Net getting invaded, by the way, tomorrow I'll have a video about the Weirwood Net getting invaded, so stay tuned. How do you perceive it, the net itself? Is it like a tangible space? How does it actually look? Well, it's an astral plane. It's just like what, it's not really a place. It's the capability for the Weirwoods to allow people to send their spirit across the river of time. That hive mind is like Bloodraven is talking to Bran for a bit and he's like, oh, I'm tired. I got to go back to the trees. They're calling me. So there's some sort of sleep that you go into, a Weirwood sleep, like the Druid sleep from Shannara. And It's a liminal space, so it's not physically a space, no. But it functionally is, because it's a place that gets defiled and invaded. So, but yeah, I'm going to talk about that more in tomorrow's video. The Sphinx is the riddle, not the Riddler, says Roma Steve. Like hybrids, is this a meta clue? Yes. That George creates with a hybrid of tactics. Yes, so thanks for wording that question in a very confusing way, Roma Steve. Yeah, it's meta. I think the Sphinx, and check out my I did a video about Daemon's song and how it's the secret of the dragon bond, and the three heads has the dragon. All that stuff is about the dragon bond. The Sphinx being the Valyrian Sphinx being a dragon with a human's head, it's giving you a clue that there's a human presence inside the dragons. That's the third head of the dragon. It's the rider, the dragon, and the Valyrian ancestor spirit inside the dragon. But I did a whole video about that, so check that one out. If one of my mods could look that up, because I forgot what it's called. It might be Daemon's song, but I forget. Secret of the Dragon Bond, more likely. Abigail. Oh, I read that one. Thanks for all the magnificent content, says Tyler. How does Howland appear? Got any intriguing Dunk and Egg foreshadowing on the brain? Well, we're going to start reading Dunk and Egg either this Sunday or next Sunday. I still haven't decided, but yes, we're going to start reading Dunk and Egg. There's tons of foreshadowing in there. Howland Reed? I don't know. Maybe when Mira, comes back. I think maybe I could see him showing up at Winterfell. When Bran and Mira make it back to Winterfell. That's what would make me happy, is Howland just walking out of the Wolf's Wood with his little his rucksack, Do you think we'll see the new King's Landing made out of marble on the South Bank as the Mad King predicted? Or he didn't predict it. He dreamed it, I guess, right? Yeah. And Bran rules from there. Oh, that's interesting. So maybe he was envisioning that. I could see that, George. That's a good theory. I could see making a new, Bran ruling from a new King's Landing. That could make sense. And the whole building a new city across the river is very symbolic. Again, the river being like the wall that divides the two places. I did like 5 Battle of the Blackwater streams. It's some of the most amazing symbolism read-alongs that we've done. So check out Battle of the Blackwater. There's a bridge of wooden ships that burns. It's like the burning weir. It's all the weirwood symbols combined. It's pretty good. PD, just repeat your question and at me here, and I'll try to get it. Is Mira Ashara's daughter? Could be. I do like the theory that Ashara Dane is Howland's wife. She is Diana Reed in the swamp there, because Diana sounds a lot like Diana, and Diana Dane would be Ashara Dane's ancestor, great-great-grandmother or something like that. So she could have renamed herself after her grandmother and said, I am Diana Reed. And that would make Jojen and Mira Danes, which I would like. I think that'd be cool. And the idea of Danes marrying children, marrying Crannog men, that's very like an Amethyst Empress loyalist marrying a child of the forest and bringing the Green Seer gift into the First Men line. So that makes a lot of sense, doesn't it? And there's all those clues about Perwyn, with the bent leg, who started the Citadel. He's Uthor Hightower's younger brother, and he's like small and crippled, so maybe he's part child of the forest. People are saying, and he loves wisdom and magic, and he collects all the magic there. Let's see here. PD, I'm looking for your missing one. Let's see if I can find it. Welcome to Squisher. Sophie, Timmy, Kelly, Mark, PD. There it is. Did another long night precede the God King's great empire's reign? His parents being the Lion and Maiden seems similar to a Stark White Walker union. So I don't think so, but maybe. It's an obvious thing to wonder. Cycles of time, multiple long nights. If we had one before and we're going to get another, does a comet just come by every once in a while and mess up the planet? Is there an Oort cloud of comets? Very possible, but there's just not specific evidence for it, and I don't think we need to be concerned with it because it's only the last one and the next one that we need to care about. So maybe, but it's just hard to say. The main thing about the Maid of Light and the Lion of Night is it's a solar duality. The lion is a solar animal usually, but it's the Lion of Night. So that's like a dark sun. The Maid of Light would be the bright sun. Amaterasu from Japanese mythology is who the Maid of Light is. She's a sun goddess. So I don't know if that implies a previous long night. Andrea with a PayPal. Thank you. Appreciate the kind words. Let's see here. Also a patron. Yeah, appreciate that. Appreciate you guys. Concerning Aemon Battleborn, Dalla brought him forth during battle as the swords sang all around her. That should be his name. Aemon Battleborn. Aemon Steel Song. A name even my Lord Father might like. A warrior's name. The boy was Mance Rayder's son and Craster's grandson, after all. He had none of Sam's craven blood. Yes, call him that. When he is 2, she promised, not before. So Mance met Dalla and Val on the way back from Winterfell. And the ladies are Craster's daughters, so the others don't or can't mess with Val when she travels. The cold didn't bother her or the others. Oh, okay. Mance Rayder's son and Craster's grandson. Yeah, people have asked about this line. It is a mysterious line. Let me scroll forward in the chat so I can get the chat participating in this one. How can he be Mance Rayder's son and Craster's grandson? Does anyone have an answer for that? It means that Dalla would have to be Craster's daughter, right? Is that what that means? Or Mance Rayder is Craster's son, but that's not likely the case. Yeah, I'm stumped. I guess that means I don't understand. I feel like I'm missing something because more people will be talking about this. Is everyone just missing it? Yeah, I think I've always thought about it as an adoption language. Like Gilly has adopted the boy, but Gilly is Craster's daughter and his wife. Yeah, it's fucked up, isn't it? I guess it could be an adoption thing. Yeah, I think this really does imply that Dalla is Craster's daughter, which is a whole wow. Let me put a pin in this and see if the chat can come up with anything, because I feel like I'd have to research this to see if other people have explored this. That's wild. I think I have always assumed it was adoptive language, and maybe it is. All right, I need a bong hit. It's 10 minutes away, but fuck it. Let me give you some reading, Rhaegar. Cleo, you're killing... Sorry, I didn't realize she was doing that. Step down. Boom. Ooh, head rush. Whoa. Wow. Oh, that was decent. Yeah, that was Kaiju Cleo. Thank you. Cleo has her own show. That's this one. All right, where were we? Matt Zamos, and then I'll catch up with the super chats here. I've been trying to figure out how the forging of Lightbringer is 3 meteors. Oh boy, Matt. I've given up on this one because it's so ambiguous. Tempering in water is the breaking of the arm of Dorne, / the storm god myths. Tempering in a lion's heart is the eclipse, the long night, hiding of the sun. The Nissa Nissa sacrifice ends the long night and brings fire magic and dragons. I'm not sure what the motivation is for the first meteor, or I've gone completely off track. Well, you'll not be able to convince me that killing Nissa Nissa ended the long night. It was the cause of the long night, in my firm opinion. I've always believed that. Killing Nissa Nissa was an act of blood magic. That's always bad. And it broke the moon, which is what caused the long night, not ended the long night. So, the 3 attempts to forge Lightbringer, I've got no friggin' idea what it means. It's a very folkloric thing to have 3 attempts to do something. There's 3 heads of the dragon. There could be 3 meteor impacts. I don't know. It's so loose and ambiguous. You can make it fit anything. I'm just going to have to wait for George to show us. I'm sorry not to have a better answer, but I've literally gone round and round with this so much back in the day, and I just threw my hands up. I was like, I had no idea what the 3 forging attempts means. I used to have... Here's what I had. Here's what I came up with. It's astronomy. First attempt to forge Lightbringer refers to the original calling of the comet. And it's a forging in water because... Why was it a forging in water? I don't even remember. The second one, where it tries to temper it in the heart of a lion and it splits, that to me sounds like the comet going around the sun and splitting in 2. And I do think that may have happened because so many of the swords get split in 2, like ice, for example, into Oathkeeper and Widow's Wail. And then we've got, Jaime's twin flaming swords, Blackfire and Dark Sister. So, and if one comet hit the moon in the past, there wouldn't be any comet left. So we've got another red comet coming back around to hit the other moon. So we need at least 2 comets, if not more. So maybe there was one that got split, but I walked away from it because it was just so out there and so far away from the actual story that it wasn't really fulfilling to work on. So I'm not sure what the 3 forging attempts. Maybe we'll see a recreation of it here towards the end, and we'll have a better clue about it. Let me go back here. Welcome to Squisher, Daniel. George says, "Do you think we'll see a new king?" Okay. I might be caught up on the super chats. Yes. Boom. Am caught up. So, Lightning Bolt JS. Rhaegar remains alive. The false memory of Robert killing him reinforced by his nightly dream of it. He is glamored as a false knight he knew strangely. The metamorphosis will reveal the illusion. What do you mean he's glamored as a false knight he knew strangely? That's very vague. So you're saying Rhaegar's alive, but you're not telling me who he is. I don't know what to do with that. First of all, I do not think Rhaegar's alive because he takes up too much room in the story. He needs to be gone so that Jon and Dany have room to do stuff, just like Ned had to go. So I don't think he can come back. We have Bloodraven around and Quaithe and other people to dispense that old knowledge. Rhaegar is a tragic figure, and he's gone. That's part of his story. So for him to be around would completely ruin his story, in my opinion. So I don't think Rhaegar's around. Thank you for the super chat. And if you want to follow up and let me know who you think he is, I can react to that, but I don't know. Let's see. Back over to the PayPals here. No question. Praise Garth from Benjamin. Thank you, Benjamin. And let's see here. Rhaegar was cremated. Yeah, I think he was. I mean, Targaryens are always burned. And we're not told, though. Just that his body was in the Trident River. Being disrespected. So, yeah, Dany's promise to Jorah about giving her an amazing sword. I think that the show got this right. I think that when Jon meets Jorah, he's going to give Longclaw back to honor Jor, the old bear. And I think that Jon is destined to wield a different sword than Longclaw. Either Dawn or Oathkeeper. Or maybe even Dark Sister. Or Blackfire. If Fagon's going to have Blackfire. Bloodraven has Dark Sister. There's a few options that could make sense. Jon wielding one of the Targaryen swords would be claiming his legacy. Jon wielding Oathkeeper would be him wielding his father's sword, which is the one he always thinks about. He thinks about wielding ice a lot, which is why I kind of favor Oathkeeper. But when he thinks about wielding ice, that could also be a clue about him wielding the original ice of House Stark, which is Dawn. Check out Dawn is the original ice, part 1 and 2. But yeah, I think it's Dawn that Jon will wield. And so I think that Jon giving Jorah back the sword, Dany may be a part of that. So that promise to give Jorah an amazing sword, that will be him getting Longclaw. I feel good about that. Shane Hawley, I recently heard about this, but what about the theory that Cannibal is alive on Skagos and will reemerge? Worth noting that Skagos means stone. Why is that? What's the connection with stone? Just that there might be caves and stuff? I don't understand. Waking dragons from stone? Like, if Cannibal emerges. I think Cannibal's too old to be alive, because Balerion pretty much died from old age. And Cannibal also fought a lot. He fought wild dragons and other things. So, yeah. Wake the dragons from stone, right? Yeah. No, I don't think Cannibal's around. There's probably a better chance of, like, Sheep Stealer being around, to be honest. But I don't think we need any other dragons. If there's another dragon that appears, my money would be on an ice dragon. Like an actual ice dragon. Yeah, I don't think they would live on Skagos. I mean, it's more likely there's a Winterfell dragon that's been living in the crypts and hatched out of there than there would be one on Skagos. Because at least in the crypts it's warm, but I don't think there's a fourth dragon out there. I think it's just those three. I think eggs could turn up. If there's eggs in the crypt, that could be interesting. Because the eggs... Dany's dragon eggs called to Dany and gave her dragon dreams before they hatched. And I mentioned this in some of my recent Jon stuff. He could have a dragon dream based on an egg left in the Winterfell crypts. And that could awaken his heritage. It could also serve as a promise of magic returning one day. If magic all goes out of the world, but it's like, we still have dragon's eggs. So maybe. Yeah, it kind of feels like we need to see at least an ice spider or an ice dragon. Something. We know George wants to do it. Who made this dragon art? That one is Renee Agner. It's Balerion in the Dragon Pit. Eggs or harp to prove Jon's birthright. I favor the eggs. Or both. In fact, here's Fadli Ramdani, Azor Ahai Jon, and Eva Maria Tokar, Lyanna Stark. For your contemplation. A lot of the hot water pipes at Winterfell were broken when Ramsay burned it. Bran sees some of the hot water spilling out of the walls. So that's why water had to be brought to Jane Pool. Is Quentin the sun that sets in the east, rises in the east and sets in the west? Or opposite, rises in the west and sets in the east. Yeah, could be. Could be. I mean, it's one layer of it. I don't know if that's the ultimate meaning, but yes, he is that. He is definitely a second sun who rises in the west and sets in the east. There's a few things with the second sun concept. That's why I say yes, but there's other stuff to it. Nate Davis, hey, I've seen your theory on the comet striking causing the long night. How will it happen this time? Will Euron trigger it? Yes and yes. Euron is probably going to trigger it. And I think the Dragonbinder horn is probably going to be key. I'm really zeroing in on the idea that the horn is the thing that binds comets and calls comets. It may or may not call dragons. I do think it calls comets. So it could be that the comet's already been called because the horn's been tooted. More likely, it takes a special kind of tooting of the horn or at a certain time to call the comet. But yes, Euron is the one I'm looking at. It could be Euron and Dany. Like if Euron, I do think Euron and Dany will hang together for a bit. And yeah, Euron could get Dany to blow the horn or something in a way that calls the comet. Could be. The other one to keep an eye on is Bran. You know, rooting around in the Weirwood net. There's a lot of stuff about the trees pulling the moon out of the sky. So it's Weirwood magic and Dragonhorn magic that are our two candidates for like actually humans controlling comets and stuff. But it could just be a destiny thing. One day the other moon will kiss the sun too and crack and the dragons will return. It's just a destiny thing. The comet's going to come back. It's going to hit the other moon. No one's going to make it happen. Who doesn't love special tooting? Yeah, 3 horn blasts, exactly. There's all. See, that 3 forgings of Lightbringer could definitely be tied to the idea of blowing the horn 3 times. And the Dragonbinder horn was blown 3 times at the King's Moot. That's all true. Quentin is alive, disguised as an extra crispy chicken wing. Dana's going to eat him. It'll be Dario. Dario will eat him. What about the horn that Mel burned? Well, what if she didn't burn it? We read that chapter just recently. Brienne's fat sister. So check that one out. I talked about that horn quite a bit. I think it could be a lost match. You know, a lost dragon horn. Or I think what makes the most sense actually is that just as we see ancient first men using runes and we see the Valyrians using runes, we see these 2 dragon horns. They're both big black horns. One is a dragon horn, one is a mysterious horn, but they look the same, except for one is banded in old gold with runes of the first men, and the other one's banded in Valyrian steel with Valyrian runes. So it seems like maybe there's rune magic that the Valyrians used and other people used as well. Because fire magic can be used by Valyrians and R'hllorists, who aren't the same groups of people. Fire magic can be used by anybody, actually. It's just magic. So runic magic, if it exists, can be used by anyone, potentially. So that's what I think is going on, is that we've got 2 similar horns because they're both using a similar magic that maybe was common knowledge during the long night. 3 toots means the others, exactly. So if Dragonbinder can call the comet, that would also be calling the others, who are like an invasion of meteors. They have stars in their eyes. An invasion of the others is an invasion of cold stars, cold meteors. So yes. Some say a comet will fall from the sky, followed by meteor showers and tidal waves. A little bit dry today, but yes, thank you for the Tool lyric. Did Robert's Rebellion start or end in 283 AC? That's a question for the wiki, my friend. I don't know that. I think ended. Okay, Lightning Bolt JS. With the cryptic Rhaegar clues. I love it. I love it. Cryptic Rhaegar. In fact, here. I'll summon a little bit of my inner Rhaegar with these purple reading Rhaegar shades. Is that a bong? Yes, it is. Praise Garth. It's 4:26. Close enough. Oh, I did pack it. Okay. Got the fat pack bowl, packing small bowls. A little bit like a mismatch there, but whatevs. Do you have a full Tower of Joy video? What the hell even happened there? Well, let's see. I've done some really good analysis of the Tower of Joy, and I feel like I've got some good observations on it. I've talked about it in several places. Origin of the Others, Night's Queen, and all the Jon Snow videos like Promise to the Others and Lord Snow. But the main thing I can tell you, well, I can tell you a couple things about the Tower of Joy. One, the eyes of the others are in the sky. The blue eyes of death are in the sky watching. So it really feels like a big clue that the others are watching for Jon, that he's the prince that was promised to the others. This is where this idea kind of came from for me. And it's also an example of, okay, so it's actually all right there. The idea that Jon is the prince that was promised to the others is based on the idea that there was a baby stolen from Night's King and Queen, just as Sam and Gilly stole a baby from Craster, who was meant to be given to the others, and the Night's Watch rescued him instead. So maybe that happened once upon a time with the original Night's King and Queen. The first Watch stole one of those babies, and he became a Stark. And so the Starks have the blood of the other, just as... And I've got an entire podcast series called Blood of the Other, which is exploring this whole thing. And I've done newer videos, like I said, the Lord Snow and the Promise to the Others, which is an update of those ideas. But the Tower of Joy is important, okay? Lyanna is an Ice Moon character, a Night's Queen character. She's got that halo of blue winter roses. It's like a lunar halo. It's cold. It's very Night's Queen. She's also tied to the Weirwood because, of course, she's the Knight of the Laughing Tree, who has the Weirwood Sigil, the Mystery Knight, which is basically showing us Night's Queen creating the others. She's playing the role of both, right? When she's her mystery identity as the Knight of the Laughing Tree, the Weirwood Knight, that's the other that comes from Night's Queen. Okay, so at the Tower of Joy, Rhaegar, the Night's King, with his black armor, has absconded with the Night's Queen, and they're in this tower, and we've got Ned with his Wraith companions, so they're like gray shadows, like Night's Watchmen, and they're fighting against the white armored Kingsguard, who are like the others. And after they defeat the others, Ned rescues a baby from a Night's Queen baby. That's baby Jon, baby Snow, a snow baby from Lyanna of the Blue Winter Rose halo, and brings the baby back to Winterfell, raises it as a Stark. So this is the pattern. We rescue a baby from Night's Queen, and we raise it as a Stark. It happens a whole bunch of times. There's a bunch of parallels. But the important one is Gilly's monster and Jon. So the Tower of Joy shows us a brave Stark watchman rescuing an other baby and bringing it back to Winterfell. And it also shows us the others watching Jon's birth. So there's quite a lot going on there. It's a great scene. We should just go ahead and read the chapter soon. I was thinking about doing that one. Could the oily black stone be an attempt by the Great Empire of the Dawn at recreating the black meteor stone? No, I don't think so. I think the oily black stone was created by the meteor impact. The entire peninsula is oily black stone. The entire peninsula, Cleo. Come here. The whole peninsula. The entire city. Ashai is the biggest city in the world, Cleo. It's entirely built of oily black stone. It doesn't make sense that you'd build a city out of oily black stone, you would just use black stone fascia and you'd use cheaper building materials underneath. But instead, Cleo, the whole thing, the streets and the walls, it's all oily black stone. And the whole peninsula is poisoned, Cleo. When you look on the map, it's black and purple. It's shadowed. There's no plants that grow there. So it's unnatural. The river is green and fluorescent. And the fish in the river, you can't eat them because they're unnatural. So this all tells us that the peninsula is poisoned. The whole thing. The oily black stone must have been created when the peninsula was poisoned. And that would have only happened by something on the scale of a meteor attack. And it's basically a color out of space. H.P. Lovecraft, where the meteor lands, Cleo, and it sucks all the life out of the land. And there's a radius of death that emerges out from the meteor. It's just like that. Instead of an oily black stone, it's a color that nobody can look at or describe. It's like an oily sheen. Like an oily stone. Aha! See? George is doing it. Does that make more sense now, girl? So the oily black stone is meteor created. We can basically think about it as contaminated by the meteor. It is effectively creepy meteorite stone. So the oily black sea stone chair, that's a Lovecraftian idol that people are sitting on that they should not sit on. That's what that is. All right. So Jenny of Oldstones. Well, there's a lot of ways to defeat the Sword of the Morning. First of all, it was 7-on-3, and Ned's fighters were competent. So it's hard to fight against more than one opponent. You've got Howland Reed laying in the cut with a little blow dart. That's what I think happened. Howland Reed. He was Howland in the reeds with the blow dart. I think you may have even gotten Arthur Dane on like the Achilles heel or some little exposed bit of flesh, just like Achilles. It's easy to liken Arthur Dane and Achilles, peerless warriors, right? So I think that's what it'll turn out to be, is that, yeah, because what did the show gave us a crappier version where Howland stabs Arthur in the back with a knife. But he's a Crannog man. Crannog men fight with little poison blow darts and things. So I would suspect that it would be that. Maybe Howland used a little bit of illusion magic and made Arthur see Ned where he wasn't. And then Ned was able to kill him. That would work too. Because it's strongly implied the Crannog men do have some illusion magic with how they hide Greywater Watch and stuff like that. So, yeah, I mean, that's how Arthur Dane was defeated, was Howland Reed. And Ned even says that Arthur would have killed me but for Howland Reed. So it's just a matter of how Howland did that. I like the blow dart idea the best, just because it's fun to go. Yeah, well, we talked about the wildfire earlier, Dare Fitzpatrick. I think it may come into play with Cersei and Fagon, but we'll see. Maybe George won't do the same trick twice. Do you have a picture of my glasses collection? No, but I can put one up on Instagram. They're all in a drawer, so I should do that. I need to put a picture of my shoe collection up on Instagram. I said I would do that weeks ago. The new video that I'm putting out tomorrow has Cleo shitting on camera on it. It was unedited. It was right in the middle of something I needed to keep, so it's there. What do I think of Preston Jacobs and his theories? I don't know all his theories. I'm not a fan of his older ones that are suggesting that Ice and Fire is actually like science fiction or that there's some technology layer to it. I am a fan of his time-traveling brand theory, though. I watched that one more recently. That's the one I'm the most familiar with of his. I think that's a really good theory. And even if it's not totally right, I think he's onto something there. So I would definitely recommend that one. And in general, I have respect for Preston just for developing a loyal following and blazing his own path and sticking around so long and always doing live streams. Like me, him, In Deep Geek, Tony Teflon, there's not that many channels that do consistent live streams all this time, all through this, period without books, show, no show. He's always there, just like me. So gotta respect that. Yeah, he's doing fanfic now. I don't touch fan fiction. I make no comment on it. I don't personally love the idea of it, but I understand that it serves a role for people and have learned to be open-minded about it as well. So I don't read it. I don't do it, but acknowledge and respect its existence. So that's all I'll say about that. And his overanalyzing House of the Dragon is really good. I've watched that, and that's just like hardcore analyzing Fire and Blood and comparing it to the show. He's done a good job there. Yeah, agree with that. I do not game. No, I got no time for gaming. All YouTube and birds. That's it. Well, and making weed videos. Follow at Garth the Green on Instagram. But definitely, if you drop into our Discord group, you can find some people that game, I'm sure. I'm into politics too, but I don't really talk about politics on the channel here very often, unless it's relevant to Ice and Fire. That's the only time I'll bring it up, which I'm not afraid to do, but just not what I'm doing. Ooh, my favorite Tool album. And by the way, if you want to ask me random non-Ice and Fire questions, that's cool. We're at the end of the stream here, so might as well. If anybody wants, random questions, that's fine. Favorite Tool album? Probably Lateralis. Well, are you asking what's the best or what's my favorite? I really like, Lateralis is probably their best album. I listen to them all pretty evenly, though. I love the last two that they've put out quite a bit. I'm not one of those people that's like, this one's not as good or what. I like all the Tool. I listen to the Salival live CD. I listen to Opiate, Undertow. I do them all. I listen to them all. I love all of them. I love Fear Inoculum. Yeah, so I really like Fear Inoculum. Cleo, girl, hey, there's no need for that. Do I need to explain more things to you, girl? King Gizzard, yeah, I've recently learned about King Gizzard. They're awesome. They're super good. I really like them. Do I think Dany will conquer Westeros? No, definitely not. I think she might think she's going to and make a little bit of an attempt, but she's going to figure out that that's the wrong way. I mean, her whole decision point is leading up to her choosing to fight the others instead of pursuing the Iron Throne. The Iron Throne as the symbol of a false prize. Remember, the High Lords play the Game of Thrones, the people suffer. That phrase represents the dereliction of duty of the governing class. So, questing for the throne and being willing to let people suffer for it is the worst thing a leader can do. And that test is set up for Dany more than anyone else. So she's going to follow the Stannis arc. She'll make an attempt at King's Landing, and then she'll hear about the others and realize she needs to go north and face the others as Azor Ahai Reborn. Just like Stannis. The Stannis is foreshadowing Dany so much. It's a huge one. I mean, just think about it. He starts at Dragonstone, is named Azor Ahai Reborn, tries to take King's Landing. A lot of people die in Wildfire. He has second thoughts. Then he hears about the threat to the north. And then he goes north. So that's exactly what Dany will do, in the broad strokes of it anyway. It just makes too much sense. By the way, while we're talking about Tool, I would also like to say that I love Pussifer and a Perfect Circle. I listen to Pussifer more. They're more re-listenable, I would say. Perfect Circle is very intense. It's very emo. So only certain mood, certain time. But I listen to all the APC albums. I've got all the Pussifer albums. I jam Pussifer all the fucking time. So, yeah. All about it. All about some Maynard. I've been to Jerome, Arizona. I've been to Maynard's wine shop and I've drinking his wine. So if you go to Arizona, Jerome is a place people visit because it's got all kinds of trippy stuff there, alien stuff. Mare de Noms is a masterpiece. I agree. It is a masterpiece. The other Perfect Circle albums do not live up to Mare de Noms. They're good, but Mare de Noms is a masterpiece. I agree with that. Let's see here. The tone of their band changed after that. Like, they're doing more covers. They're more sarcastic, more tongue-in-cheek. Mare de Noms is like straight fucking emo goth masterpiece. Maynard James and Keenan did an interview with Rick Beto. Rick Beto is awesome. His channel's friggin' awesome. Yeah, I'll check that out. Yeah, more Moon Media stuff is coming. I've got to prioritize this channel and Mythic Concepts, but yes, I just created Moon Media, so I had a place to do sci-fi stuff. I'm going to cover movies on there too, eventually. It's just a matter of getting Mythic Concepts going again and getting a little more of the duties delegated so that I have time to put towards it. Yeah, 13th Step is great too, for sure. And it's got some moments on there that live up to the first album. A few songs, maybe. Not really a theory, more just an idea. Without conviction, what you think? Upcoming, no room. Okay, I'll look for you, Muhammad Sam. Let's see here. Oh, there's another PayPal from Sophie. How do you think Jon will announce his parentage after he learns the truth? Would he remain humble and keep it on the down low, or have a I am the blood of the dragon moment? Well, a big FU to all those who used his bastard status against him. That would be an interesting temptation for Jon to revel in that identity. I can see where you're going with that. But he's also going to have been resurrected by that time, so he'll have more of a mystical mindset. I think the importance of it is that Jon will have a dragon connection. And also that the first last hero in Night's King had the blood of the dragon too. And Jon parallels both those figures. So I think Jon riding a dragon will probably be the way that everyone knows. I don't think he's going to go around like trying to convince people. But I think Jon being resurrected will be more of a thing that people marvel at. On the show, we always wondered, do people think that Jon is undead or that he broke his Night's Watch vows? And it's never answered. Whether the people in the North think he just left the Watch or that his vows are not valid because he was resurrected. And if so, no one ever deals with it. Like, the question of Jon being a zombie is not addressed at all on the show. Danny even looks at his wounds. You know, Beric says, "Oh, R'hllor brought us back, you and me," and that's it. It's the only time it's referenced. So, yeah, I don't know. I think that Jon being a zombie will be more of a, like, people are looking at him like a god-man thing. And if he's got flaming sword magic or a dragon, then, yeah, he's not going to have to convince anyone. Yeah, how did I get from 30K to 90K? Yeah, House of the Dragon definitely blew it up. It was more like 44 to about 80 some. What will happen to Fagon when Dany reaches Westeros? I kind of think Fagon's going to get eaten by a dragon. I think there's foreshadowing of people getting eaten by a dragon. Tyrion flying the dragon piece across the board. Death in 4. Like, I think he's going to get eaten by Balerion or by Drogon. I don't know. It could be one of the other dragons, actually. I don't have reason to think it's Drogon. It could be another one. Mahasamatman. Maybe Amethyst Empress calls the comet. Bloodstone Emperor kills her too late. Doesn't worship it, but tries to stop the shadow from spreading. No, that's all backwards. Because it's the death of Nissa Nissa that breaks the moon. That's the cause of it. And the moon breaking is the disaster. That's the great disaster. So, and also the dragon horn magic, if that's what calls the comet, that's a blood sacrifice ritual. So Everything about Bloodstone Emperor suggests he's someone using blood magic to gain power, like Euron. So I'm not sure why you're trying to read the story that way, but I cannot see it that way. So, I mean, it's all theories. I'm not, whatever, but I can't see it that way at all. Because Bloodstone Emperor, he's the one who worships the meteor. Like, he causes it and then takes power. It benefits from it. So it's like, who benefits? It was Bloodstone Emperor. He's the suspect as well. What do you mean, what about the shadow? You mean the shadow that covers Ashai? That's from the meteor landing. That's what I was saying. Ashai is infected with a piece of broken moon that shouldn't be in the planet. And furthermore, the moons, I think, are sources of magic. In A Song of Ice and Fire, it's like, are the moons ice and fire moons that affect the magic on the planet? I think so. It makes sense why the seasons are out of whack. That's kind of the connection there. Like, in a magical way, the seasons were governed by these ice and fire moons, which are orbiting nicely in rotation or something like that. And then the one moon that's tied to fire is blown up, and pieces of its corpse, its blackened corpse, are then embedded in the earth. So I think that is what's going on. And that's also kind of matches, if you look at the fire magic, it's also associated with shadow. So it's almost like he's riffing on Wheel of Time. Wheel of Time, the magic is male and female. There's two halves of magic. And the male half is corrupted by this ancient sin with the Dark Lord and stuff like that, right? And so now any male who tries to use magic goes mad because the male half is tainted. Well, fire magic looks tainted to me too, because all the people that have been practicing fire magic are doing really dark stuff. And like I said, the R'hllorys are doing these shadow babies and all this stuff. So it seems like R'hllor, the god of flame and shadow, also think about this. We got the heart of winter. Well, where's the heart of summer? We don't have one. Instead, the other heart is the heart of shadow. That is at Ashai, at Stygiai, the corpse city. That's the heart of shadow. So it's like the thing that should be the heart of summer or the heart of fire, and Ashai is a volcanic peninsula. Instead, it's the heart of shadow. So this just tells me, like, the fire magic is messed up. The ice magic is messed up too, quite frankly. I think a piece of the broken fire moon was embedded in the ice moon. That's what all that dragon locked in ice crap is. Anytime we see the Night's King, well, I don't even want to get too lost in this. Check out Moons of Ice and Fire, but I'm pretty sure that there's an affected piece of fire moon, both in the earth and in the ice moon. Because that mirrors everything with the others. Azor Ahai the dragon gets frozen, and his children are the others. He's like that fiery moon child of sun and moon, the moon meteor that gets embedded in the ice moon. He's frozen, and then he powers the others. At the heart of winter, we'll find a black meteor. I guarantee it. Just as there's a black meteor inside the ice moon. And yeah, it's just on and on. It's a pattern. There's probably black stone under the wall for the same reason. Oily black stone or fused black stone, one or the other. Probably fused black stone, because the Great Empire of the Dawn should have been here. So they probably built fused stone, just like at Old Town. That's my prediction. Alexander, did you ever get a chance to look at the connections between A Song of Ice and Fire and Elden Ring? Oh, I still need to do that. And now it's been long enough to where I don't have to play the game. People have made videos about the Elden Ring lore. People still message me all the time. It's all of my theories, apparently. No, I need to do it. Thank you, Alex. Thanks for reminding me. I really need to do that, because it's just going to prove my theories even more. But at this point, I'm sick of offering proof of my theories. You could, and I've thought of doing this, you could randomly tell me right now any chapter in A Song of Ice and Fire. We could open it up, and we will find a long night pattern in it. It's in every chapter, every single one. Every one. So every time we do a reread, I'm talking about Azor Ahai and Nissa Nissa, because George is constantly telling us the story about the long night in every chapter. So, yeah. Cool. Right on, Mahamasam. Mahasamatman. Sorry, hard to say. But yes, I know where your name comes from now, as we've discussed. Let's see. Where was I? I was just feeling my rant, and then I just forgot what I was ranting about. So, Nissa is a role of self-sacrifice. I think that George wrote the Azor Ahai myth to show us two ideals zipped up in one story. So from Azor's perspective, he's the bad guy killing other people to gain magic power. That's Euron. Okay. Nissa shows us someone willing to give up her life in order to save people. And even though I think her death caused the long night, the ideal, the heroic ideal that's expressed in the story is extremely important because we see that ideal personified by all the heroes of the story. Jon and Dany, as I've said a million times, of course, Jon sticking up for the wildlings and sticking up for Sam. Dany's, putting her neck on the line, risking all her troops and her dragons to free slaves and to try to stamp out the practice altogether. She buys the boys in training. Okay, but think about Brienne. No chance, no choice, standing up against the bloody mummers to protect the children at the inn. It's the same thing. Even Sam, bravely trying to save Gilly and her child, trying to muster bravery that he's never had in order to, because they depend on me. Like, that's heroism. So, I also think that Bran will become a hero in this fashion as well. So, Nissa drives a Nissan Optima. Tywin's funeral read-along. Yeah, that's a good one. That's a real good one. The burning of the Tower of the Hand is another one that I want to do. So, the Elden Ring. That's what I was ranting about. Yeah, I do need to look into the Elden Ring lore. It is very specifically referencing some core Long Night ideas. And specifically ways in which the meteors and shit interact with the weirwoods, which is kind of the gap that I'm always trying to bridge. Showing you how the dragon stuff affects the weirwoods and the others. Azor Ahai drives an IROC Camaro. That's fucking true. You nailed that. Tower of the Hand burning, yes, there's a lot of Ares, Cersei similarities. But it's a great burning of the weirwood and creation of the others one. So it goes along with all the other burning pyres and stuff. Oh yeah, let me come back to something. This isn't even a question. This is just something I want to talk about. So we did the whole Corrin's Pyre thing, and I was like, Corrin's Pyre, and also the bonfire that they build. Heavy foreshadowing of Jon's Pyre. Then I said, the Shadow Baby birthing scene is also going to be foreshadowing of Jon's rebirth, because it's Nissa that's going to midwife Jon's rebirth. And Jon is like a black shadow warrior. And the Shadow Baby is a copy of Stannis, who is Azor Ahai. So the Shadow Baby is actually a black shadow version of Azor Ahai with a black Lightbringer sword. That's what Jon's going to be. That exactly. He'll have some black steel sword. It'll catch on fire red, but it'll be a black sword. Stop it. And he's a black shadow, a shadow in black. And he'll be undead as well. So then when we read the Shadow Baby scene, I got caught up in talking about Azor Ahai invading the Weirwood Net, and I forgot all about Jon. But when I went back and looked at the Shadow Baby scene yesterday, I noticed something. Right before she has the Shadow Baby, it says, a light bloomed amidst the darkness. And that is when Melisandre gives birth. So, of course, the Night's Watch, they are the swords in the darkness and the light that brings the dawn. So they are, the whole idea is that they are a lighted up sword, of either a fire sword or, like think of dawn shining with light. They are a bright, light-bringing sword in the darkness. That's what the Night's Watch is, functionally. They are people who are swords that light up in the darkness. So here's Melisandre doing the agony and ecstasy language of Nissa Nissa and shining like a light in the darkness. And then she gives birth to a shadow Azor Ahai. Okay? But Jon is going to be a shadow Azor Ahai, who is the light in the darkness. You see what I'm saying? So I definitely think that Melisandre birthing the shadow baby is definitely foreshadowing for Jon. Jon is equivalent to the shadow baby. I've always said that the shadow baby and Jon, the Night's Watch shadows are equivalent. But yeah, more specifically, the light in the darkness language. I was like, oh, it's the Night's Watch oaths. You could almost hear him being recited as Melisandre is midwifing Jon's rebirth. Davos will also be there, quite likely, when Jon is reborn in the pyre. Maybe, I should say, maybe. Or maybe it'll be an illusion, Davos. Because remember we talked about maybe Mel's got the finger bones and she's going to glamour somebody to look like Davos as part of the Shireen burning. But yeah, Davos is there in the shadow baby birthing scene, and he might be there when Jon is reborn too. The whole of Elden Ring is like the long night. Yeah, totally. That's what I understand. Would the wall be the shield? What do you mean, the shield? It is a shield. There is a shield symbolism to the wall, and the weirwoods as well. And of course, this is one of the points of Melisandre looking like a weirwood tree and then giving birth to the shadow, is that the Night's Watch zombies are reborn in front of weirwood trees. So it's the same thing. Like Melisandre is sitting there like a weirwood tree. She even gets naked so that she's a white trunk with a red canopy. And then she pops out the black shadow. And that's Jon's spirit is literally going to come out of Ghost, who looks like a weirwood tree as well. And there probably will be weirwood on the pyre. So he'll be coming out of the weirwood tree and the weirwood wolf. And the weirwood woman will be there midwifing it all. So, yeah. Also, the shadow baby, the crown of his head pokes out. So he's got a black crown. Stannis obviously has a golden fiery crown. So it's more shadow version of the fiery thing. But it also implies Jon as having that black crown of the King of Winter. Boom. Lyanna, Jon is born from Lyanna's bed of blood. Melisandre is bleeding with the burning R'hllor blood when she has the shadow baby. So, and there's smoking as well, and of course that'll be Jon on the pyre. It'll be be blood and fire and smoke and all that shit. It's not going to smell very good. So yeah, thanks Brienne's fat sister for coming through. We're pretty much so this is that moment when I will say, if I didn't get any of your questions, go ahead and repeat them now. You can @ me. Put the little orange thing on there so I'll see it. Do you think Jon wielding Longclaw is a hint at him being a dragon, i.e. a dragon's claw? Well, think about Longclaw's symbolism. The blade is black dragon steel. It's Valyrian steel. But the pommel is a wolf, a stone wolf that looks like a weirwood, right? White stone with ruby eyes, or garnet eyes, rather. So this is a picture of Jon's spirit inside Ghost, actually. And if you look at Longclaw, come here, girl. Can I put you down just for a second, Cleo? Right there. So this is Oathkeeper, but Longclaw looks the same. Instead of the lion, it's a wolf's head. So anytime someone makes a sword and they put an animal on the pommel, the head ends up looking like it has swallowed the sword. You see? Down the mouth, down the throat, and oh, it's the sword. So the animal has swallowed the sword, right? So if you look at Longclaw, the sword is black. Jon is a black sword. He's a man in black who is a sword in the darkness. He's also compared to Dragonglass, which is a black knife. So Jon is a black sword and a black knife. So Longclaw, it's got a white wolf swallowing a black sword. And that's what Jon, he's going to be, his spirit is going to be in Ghost, of course. Shout out to Ghost. So the black sword spirit will be swallowed by the werewolf. So his sword is showing you how that works. It's also Azor Ahai in the Weirwood net, because the werewolf is the weirwood, and Azor Ahai is the original black sword who was swallowed by the weirwood. So everything about Jon is parallel to Azor Ahai. Him going inside Ghost is just like Azor Ahai invading the weirwood net. But again, please watch for my video tomorrow morning about Azor Ahai's defilement of the weirwood net. Please watch it. I added a bunch of extra stuff, so even if you watch the Shadow Baby live stream, there's new information in there. Oh, yes. Thanks. Sorry. Okay. There you go. There was a mute. The question I was answering was this one from Sulphurous. Hi, I'm new here. Do you think that the Azor Ahai story will appear on the page? If so, how? And if not, how will George make its importance or centrality clear? Very good question. So there's 3 ways. One is the way that we're already working on, which is the symbolic parallels, right? So anytime we see people doing Azor Ahai Nissanissa roleplay, it tells us something about the original thing. And when we see the most important echo, i.e. what causes and ends the new long night at the end of the book, that will tell us more about the original thing. However, the characters in the book actually need to learn about Azor Ahai and Nissanissa. Jon and Dany, they need to figure that out. Bran especially needs to figure out that the Greenseers have invaded the Weirwood net, the human Greenseers, and that we need to get that Greenseer hive mind out of the Weirwood net so that the others can go back in. That's the only way to fix the problem of the others. So our characters do need to figure this stuff out. Now, Bran has access to the Weirwood net, so he could see anything. He's already seen some ancient blood sacrifice to a weirwood. That might be something really important, or just an echo of something. We don't know. But he could see more visions. He could definitely see the creation of the others. He could see green men getting sacrificed at the Night Fort. He could see anything. He could definitely see fire falling from the sky. He could see the hammer of the waters. He could see great explosions and darkness. Think about all the dreams that we've had depicting waves of night and things like that. So we're almost there as far as people having visions of the original Long Night and realizing that that's what it is. And then the third thing is Dany's glass candle. Like I said, she's going to be rummaging around in the ancient records of Ashai. Melisandre kept teasing Dany about, there's truth in Ashai that you need to know about. Well, that's going to be Azor Ahai Long Night stuff. Dany's not going to go to Ashai, but she'll use the glass candle to communicate with Quaithe and maybe explore on her own. The glass candle could give you access to the past, I suspect. Or it could just allow her to see Stygiai, and maybe just seeing it will be enough to help her understand some things. So yeah, Jon and Dany and Bran need to figure out some of this stuff in the book, as well as all the symbolic parallels. So I've got a pretty high hope of getting the broad strokes of stuff confirmed. George has said we're going to see the Isle of Faces, so we'll get to see what green men look like, presumably. Maybe not even in a vision. What do I think about Ashara? I answered that earlier. I think she probably married Howland Reed. In Deep Geek did a great video about this, and he kind of sold me on it. So I think it's part of his Tower of Joy series. But yeah, just look up In Deep Geek and Ashara Dane Howland Reed. I think it's the best possibility. What's up with Sir Shadrick the Mad Mouse? I think he's going to play a role in Sansa turning the tables on Peter Baelish. He might help her if Harry the Heir becomes abusive or something, and Sansa's in a bad way. You might see Shadrick come to her aid. He's got weirwood symbolism, and she's a weirwood maiden, so I definitely think he's going to be helping her. Plot-wise, he's motivated by the reward, but I don't think he's just trying to bring her back to Cersei. I think he's more like the reward has tipped him off to who Sansa is, and he understands the political ramifications of that. So I think he's a very interesting minor character to keep an eye on. And shout out to my manager, Shad. Which characters do you think will have quick power-ups due to the 5-year gap? There is no 5-year gap. That was scrapped, Charlie. That was going to be between books 3 and 4. I'll even shout out YouTubers I personally do not care for or have beef with if they have good theories. I'm all about the theories. The beef is stupid. The drama's stupid. So I always respect people, even if I don't respect them for any other reason. If someone has a good theory, I'll always remember that. And appreciate their contribution to the fandom. Because figuring out the books, understanding the books, that's what we're all here for. And yeah, I'm talking about Joe Magician. Come here, girl. Come here, stop. You're doing this self-harm crap. Come here. She throws tantrums to get my attention. I try to give her attention. She just keeps tantruming. Yeah. Joe Magician's theory that I like is the one about all the Targaryens have been seeing Dany's waking the dragons on the pyre, and that all like Egg's vision that led him to try to do Summerhall, Mad King Aerys, they're all seeing Dany waking the dragons. I think that's a really good theory. I'm not so sure about his strong theories, but there it is. Shout out to Joe Magician for his amazing theory about Dany's pyre. All right. Oh, meant to say, whose storylines do you think will be most accelerated by the 5-year gap being scrapped? Ah, that makes more sense, Charlie. Cool. Very good. So, Arya is the big one. Her Faceless Man training is going to go a lot faster now. It would have made more sense for her to just disappear for 5 years and then reemerge as like a quasi-faceless man. So, that's a tough one. Jon has no Valyrian features because the Stark features are dominant. He does. I think his face probably might have some Targaryen looks, but yeah, it's a plot thing. Come on, man. He can't look like a Targaryen. It would ruin everything. So the dark gray eyes could be dark purple, but I think we're just supposed to assume that the Lyanna's genetics were dominant. It's pretty random, genetics and kids and stuff, so they got lucky. But it leads you to well, what would Ned have done if he looked a little more Targaryen? Well, then he would have taken more effort to make sure people believed he was Ashara Dane's son. And that would explain it, because the Danes, she had purple eyes, and the other Danes have silver hair. My other question about completing the narrative, do you think we need more of the Reach to appear with a POV, etc.? It seems to be the hub of pre-Azor High Westerosi culture. Well, the Reach really just stands for Green Seers. That's like in ancient day, the Reach was the home of, the green men and the children. They all flourished there, but that's not the case anymore. So we are going to see Old Town. Old Town's going to be important, but we've had lots of Tyrells and green men and Renly running around doing important symbolic things with all the symbolism from the Reach. So, and the Manderleys also make use of it. I don't think we need to spend a lot of time at the Reach, though. Who wants to go visit House Florent? Is the Mushroom going to be more central to the next season? Oh, is Mushroom going to be more central to the next season of House of the Dragon? I suspect so. I think they introduced him in a low-key way so they can use him a bit more. Yeah, and he does actually play a role with some of Rhaenyra's decisions and scenes later on, too. What do you think about weirwoods looking similar to arteries in the human body? and what that might imply about how they work. I don't know what you mean by that. I mean, they're bleeding, but I don't know about looking like arteries. I'm not sure. If you want to try to clarify that. Goon is asking about the significance plot-wise of Ashara Dane. I think she's a necessary red herring for Jon Snow's birth. You know, like I just said. And I do think that there'll be a note of, you know, Starks and Danes working together again when we find out that, what's her name? Mira Reed is part Dane. That will make it sort of poetic for Bran if they find that out. Or if Mira just reveals, Mira would know, actually. Do you think the crypts of Winterfell and Dany's dream of her ancestors are intentionally made to parallel one another? Yes, for sure. I think there's a lot of... The really strong parallel is the Dragon Skull Chamber under King's Landing and the crypts. Those are 100% parallel. And I really need to read Arya's chapter when she goes down there. They're both chthonic underworld realms. The Starks are like Hades. You know, so look, it's all about Cerberus. Cerberus guards Hades, the land of Hades, and keeps people in there, right? So is a three-headed hellhound. Well, you split that animal in half and you get Stark and Targaryen. Stark has a one-headed hellhound and Targaryen has a three-headed dragon. Now, the multi-headed dragon also comes from Zoroastrian and Indian mythology, as I have extensively proven in my Vedic Origins of Dany and Drogon video. But, nevertheless, Starks and Targaryens, they both are underworld keepers. That's why they both have hell underworld symbolism. They're just ice and fire, kind of, but nevertheless, both underworld people. There's a lot of parallels there. What was the voice in the flames that Varys heard? We don't know. We'll never know. That's just a mysterious magic thing that George put in there. He doesn't want all of his magic to have answers. So, 7 strings, I'm not sure even what the difference is between capillaries and arteries, so I'm still not clear what you're asking about. They're bleeding because they're bleeding and burning and screaming. They're in pain. They're being tortured. It's because they've been invaded by Azor Ahai and set on fire. So that is the tonal thing of it. And they in turn require blood sacrifice. So everything about them is very macabre. But check out my video tomorrow because I'm going to talk about what I think the Weirwoods originally looked like. All right, guys, I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up. That's about 2 hours. So thanks a lot for coming out. Thanks for all the PayPals and Super Chats. And I will see you again. New video tomorrow morning, and I'll do a live stream on Sunday. It might be Dunk and Egg. So I have to figure that out. But come in anyway. 3 p.m. Pacific, Sunday. Thanks, everyone. And if you want to, make sure you click like on the stream. And after this stream is over here, hit the refresh button and leave a comment. YouTube loves it. More comments in the first hour, the more it shows the stream. So really appreciate that, guys. Take care, and I'll see you soon.